Welcome, everyone, ready to deep dive with us again. Today we're heading south of the border, exploring three Mexican states you might not know, as well as, say, Oaxaca or Yucatan.
Right, we're going a bit off the beaten path, yeah.
Exactly. Coahuila, Tamaulipas, Veracruz. Each one, though, has something totally unique to offer.
Absolutely, it's like getting three very different tastes of Mexico all in one go. You've got, well, Coahuila is famous for its dinosaur fossils.
Tierra de Dinosaurios, right. Land of the dinosaurs. That's got to be more than just a catchy name.
Oh, it's for real. We're talking tons of fossils. Hadrosaurs, those duck-billed herbivores, ceratopsians with their crazy horns and frills.
So we're picturing lush, tropical, millions of years ago. Not the desert landscape Coahuila is today.
Right. And pterosaurs, too. Giant flying reptiles. Gives you a sense of the scale of things back then.
And from prehistoric giants to, well, Coahuila's cowboy culture is still huge, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Vaqueros are a huge part of the state's identity. Those charretas, the Mexican rodeos, are a sight to see. Real skill on display there.
Must be quite a blend, though. Indigenous groups, Mennonite communities, Spanish colonial influence, all layered on top of that.
Exactly. Like the Kickapoo people, they've maintained their traditions for centuries. Then you've got the Mennonites, known for their cheese making. And of course, the Spanish influence is everywhere, from the architecture to the food.
And the wine, right. Didn't she say Coahuila has the oldest winery in the Americas? That's a pretty big deal.
It is. Casa Madero in Parras de la Fuente dates back to 1597. Think about that. Before most of the famous European wineries even existed, they were making wine in Coahuila.
Wow, that's impressive. And it's still going strong today.
Oh, yeah. Producing all sorts of wines, from crisp whites to those bold reds. They've got a blend of old-school methods and modern technology. It's quite something.
I'm getting thirsty just thinking about it. But before we open a bottle, you also mentioned Francisco Madero, the revolutionary leader. He was from Coahuila, right?
He was. Born and raised there. Came from a wealthy family, actually, which is interesting because he ended up leading the charge against the very system that benefited him.
So he saw the inequality firsthand growing up in Coahuila, and that fueled his revolutionary spirit.
That's one way to look at it. He saw the struggles of rural communities, the growing discontent, and he decided to do something about it.
What a fascinating figure. Now, for someone who wants to dig deeper into Coahuila, where would you send them?
Well, the Desert Museum in Saltillo is a must-see. It's not just about dinosaurs, though they do have a fantastic paleontology collection. They also cover the region's ecosystems, the flora and fauna of the desert.
Sounds like a perfect blend of natural history and cultural exploration. But for now, let's move on to our next destination, Tamaulipas. You described it as a cultural crossroads. What did you mean by that?
It's a state that bridges those ancient traditions of the Huasteca region with, well, think cowboy culture, ranching, and even a bit of Texas thrown in.
Texas. Now that's intriguing. We'll have to unpack that. But first, you played a snippet of El Cuerudo Tamaulipeco, which is like their unofficial anthem. What does that song tell us about the people of Tamaulipas?
It's all about bravery, honor. The lyrics talk about a fearless bull, which kind of symbolizes the spirit of the people. They're tough, resilient, independent, kind of like that bull, charging ahead no matter what.
Definitely gets the blood pumping. But you mentioned a contrast within the state between the ranching culture inland and those coastal communities. How do they fit together?
Well, it's two different worlds, really. Inland, it's all about wide open spaces, vaqueros on horseback. That's where you find that Cuerudo spirit in its purest form.
And what about life on the coast? What's the vibe like there?
On the coast, life moves to a different rhythm. It's all about the Gulf of Mexico. Fishing villages, fresh seafood, a bit more laid back.
So it's like two sides of the same coin. But we can't ignore the elephant in the room, Texas. How has that proximity influenced Tamaulipas?
Oh, it's huge. The border is more than just a line on a map. It's this constant flow of people, ideas, music. You hear it in the language, see it in the clothes people wear. Norteño music, which is big in Tamaulipas, has a lot of crossover with Texas music.
So it's a real blend of Mexican and American influences. Now, back to the cultural heritage. You mentioned the Huasteca region being a center for indigenous traditions. Can you tell us more about what makes it so special?
The Huasteca Tamaulipeca is like a living museum of ancient cultures. Think vibrant dances, traditional music, rituals that have been passed down for generations.
Can you give us an example of one of those traditions?
Well, there's the Danza de los Viejitos, the dance of the old men. It's a really fascinating dance. Performers wear these masks that look like elderly men with exaggerated features,
Oh,
and the dances are full of energy, often humorous.
sounds like quite a spectacle.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got cowboys, fishermen, ancient rituals, anything else that screams Tamaulipas.
Oh, the music scene is incredibly rich. Besides norteño, there's huapango, which is popular in the southern regions. It's all violins, guitars, and these poetic duels. Very lively stuff.
And what about the food scene? We talked about carne a la tampiqueña, but what else should we be trying?
Oh, Tamaulipas is a foodie's paradise. If you're into seafood, you have to try the jaibas rellenas, those stuffed crabs. They're a Tampico specialty. And if you want a taste of the ranching culture, go for the cabrito al pastor. It's roasted goat seasoned with northern spices. Delicious.
My mouth is watering already.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to Veracruz, can you give us a quick overview of Tamaulipas history?
Well, before the Spanish arrived, it was home to various indigenous groups like the Huastec, Janambre, and Paisan peoples. You can still see traces of their cultures in archaeological sites all over the state.
So, deep indigenous roots. And then the Spanish arrived. What impact did they have?
Well, the Spanish brought cattle ranching, agriculture, missions were established, towns were founded. Tamaulipas became part of that whole colonial system.
Right, and then, of course, the fight for independence.
Yes, Tamaulipas played a big role in the Mexican War of Independence. There were battles, uprisings, all sorts of political intrigue. It was a turbulent time.
It's amazing to see how all these historical layers have shaped the Tamaulipas we know today. So what about the people? What are they like?
They're hardworking, resilient, proud of their state. They really embody that Querudo spirit. And they're also incredibly warm and welcoming.
Sounds like a great place to visit. But now let's finally set sail for our final destination, Veracruz. You've described it as a cultural explosion. What can we expect?
Get ready for a sensory overload. Music, dance, food. Veracruz is all about passion, energy, and a vibrant mix of cultures.
I can't wait to dive in. So let's start with Jarocho culture, which seems to be at the heart of everything Veracruz. What exactly is it?
It's the soul of Veracruz, especially in the port city. It's this blend of Afro-Caribbean, indigenous, and Spanish influences. It's in the music, the dance, the whole festive atmosphere.
She sounds like a real melting pot.
Yeah.
What are some of the key elements we should be aware of?
Well, we've touched on Sun Jarocho music, which is central to their identity. Those instruments, those rhythms, they tell a story of cultural fusion. And then you've got the dances, like the fandango, which are incredibly passionate and energetic.
Speaking of energetic, we can't forget the Danza de los Voladores, the Dance of the Flyers. It sounds absolutely incredible. Can you tell us more about the story behind it?
It's more than just a dance, it's a sacred ritual. It goes back centuries to the Totonac people. It's about connecting with the spiritual world, honoring nature, ensuring fertility and abundance.
Wow, it's amazing how they convey such deep meaning through movement and symbolism. Now let's talk about Veracruz's history. It seems to have been at the crossroads of a lot of major events.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a point of contact between the old world and the new world, shaped by conquest, colonization, revolution. It's got a really layered history.
So before the Spanish arrived, what was Veracruz like?
Well, it was home to some of the most advanced civilizations in ancient Mexico. The Olmecs, considered the mother culture of Mesoamerica, flourished there. They left behind incredible sites like La Venta, with those giant stone heads.
So much history predates the arrival of the Spanish. What happened when they showed up?
Well, the arrival of Hernán Cortés in 1519 was a major turning point. He landed in what's now Veracruz City, and from there, it became a key port for the Spanish Empire.
It was the gateway to Mexico for the Spanish, wasn't it?
It was, and unfortunately, it was also a major center for the transatlantic slave trade, so it's a complex history.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the fight for independence. How did Veracruz play a role in that?
Veracruz was actually a hotbed of revolutionary activity. It was the site of major battles, and the San Juan de Ulua fortress, which is still there today, was the last Spanish stronghold in Mexico.
So much history happened in that one spot.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about those U.S. invasions in the 19th and 20th centuries. How did those events impact the state?
Those were dark times for Veracruz. Those invasions left scars that haven't completely healed. It's a reminder of the complex and often difficult relationship between Mexico and the United States.
So much history, so much complexity. But before we move on, let's talk about the people. What are Veracruzanos like?
They're known for their warmth, their hospitality, their love of life. They're friendly, outgoing, and they love to have a good time.
Sounds like my kind of people. And speaking of good times, we have to talk about the food. What are some of the must-try dishes in Veracruz?
Oh, where do I even begin? We've mentioned Huachinango a la Veracruzana, but you also have to try arroz a la tumbada, which is like a seafood paella. And for breakfast, you can't go wrong with picadas, those thick corn tortillas with all the toppings.
I'm getting hungry just listening to you describe it.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up our Veracruz adventure, who are some of the key figures we should know about?
Well, Veracruz has produced a lot of talented artists and musicians. Agustin Lara, El Flaco de Oro, was one of Mexico's most beloved composers. He was born in Veracruz, and his music really captures the soul of the state.
Oh, I love his music. It's so romantic. What were some of his most famous songs?
Granada and Veracruz are classics. And then there's Toña La Negra, another musical legend. She was known for her powerful voice and her Afro-Mexican boleros.
So much talent has come from Veracruz. What about historical figures? Anyone who played a key role in shaping the state?
Well, there's Yanga, also known as Gaspar Yanga. He was an escaped African slave who led a rebellion against the Spanish and actually founded the first free African town in the Americas right here in Veracruz.
It's an incredible story. It's a reminder of the African influence in Mexican history, which is often overlooked.
Yeah.
Now, are there any places in Veracruz that we absolutely have to see?
Oh, there are so many. Veracruz City is a must, of course. It's got the iconic San Juan de Ulua fortress, the lively Zocalo, and you can't miss the Café de la Parroquia.
I've heard it's a Veracruz institution. What about other destinations?
If you're into archaeology, El Tajín is incredible. It's a Totonac site with the amazing Pyramid of the Niches. And then there's Papantla, home of the Danza de los Voladores. It's also famous for its vanilla.
Vanilla. Real.
Yes, the vanilla orchid is native to that region, and they have a long tradition of cultivating it. You can actually visit vanilla plantations and see how it's grown and processed.
Now, that's something I wouldn't want to miss. Any other hidden gems in Veracruz?
Well, if you want colonial charm, Tlacopan is a must. It's a beautifully preserved town with colorful houses, cobblestone streets. And for nature lovers, the Los Tuxtlas Biosphere Reserve is incredible. It's a biodiversity hotspot with rainforests, volcanoes, and amazing wildlife.
So much to see and do. Any fun facts about Veracruz before we move on?
Did you know that Veracruz is also home to Pico de Orizaba, the highest mountain in Mexico?
I had no idea. It sounds like Veracruz has something for everyone.
Huh.
We've covered a lot of ground today exploring Coahuila, Tamaulipas, and Veracruz. What a whirlwind tour.
It's been a blast, and we've only just scratched the surface.
3 states, 3 totally different vibes. It's like Mexico showing off its range.
Yeah, no kidding. And we've only scratched the surface. Like with Coahuila, there's so much more to unpack beyond the dinosaurs and cowboys.
Okay, so unpack it for us. What else is hiding in Coahuila?
Well, we mentioned the Mennonites, right? They're known for their cheese, but they've had a much bigger cultural impact than you might think.
Oh, interesting. How so?
When they arrived back in the early 1900s, they brought their own customs, their own farming techniques. And they often live in pretty isolated communities, which means they've really preserved their language, their dress, their religious practices. Adds a whole other layer to Coahuila.
It's like a cultural mosaic, with all these different pieces fitting together.
Yeah.
And speaking of pieces, we talked about Spanish colonial influence, but the indigenous groups were there long before, right? How have they maintained their presence in Coahuila today?
That's a great question. Groups like the Kickapoo, they have this deep connection to the land that goes way back. And their cultural practices are still alive and well. Ceremonies, dances, storytelling.
Can you give us an example of a specific tradition that's been preserved?
Well, their knowledge of herbal medicine is pretty amazing. They've been using plants for healing for centuries, and that knowledge is still passed down through generations. It's pretty incredible.
It speaks to their resilience, holding on to their traditions in the face of so much change.
Okay, so we've got dinosaurs, cowboys, Mennonites, indigenous cultures. What else can Coahuila surprise us with?
Get ready for this. Coahuila is actually an industrial powerhouse.
Really? That's not the image that comes to mind.
Yeah. Mining, steel production, automotive manufacturing, it's a big part of their economy.
Wow, so it's not just history and culture, it's a modern, thriving state. Kind of blows your preconceptions out of the water.
Exactly. Coahuila is full of surprises. Well, I am surprised and intrigued. Okay, let's shift gears to Tamaulipas. We talked about that mix of indigenous and cowboy cultures, but I want to get a little more specific. What makes the Huasteca Tamaulipas region so culturally rich?
The Huasteca region is where you really see that indigenous heritage come alive. Those vibrant dances, the music, the rituals. It's all about connecting to the ancestors, keeping those traditions going.
Give us an example. What kind of ritual are we talking about?
One that really stands out is the Danza de los Viejitos, the Dance of the Old Men. It's this really interesting dance where performers wear masks that make them look like old men with exaggerated features. And the dances themselves are energetic, often pretty funny.
Sounds like a blast from the past, literally. And we touched on the cowboy culture inland, but what about those coastal communities? How do they factor into Tamaulipas' identity?
The coast is a whole different world. It's all about the Gulf of Mexico. Those fishing villages, the fresh seafood, it's a lot more laid back. Life moves to a different rhythm there.
So you've got cowboys inland, fishermen on the coast, quite a contrast. And then you've got Texas right there across the border. How does that play into things?
Oh, that proximity to Texas is huge. It's not just a geographic border, it's a cultural exchange. You see it in the language, the fashion, even the music. Norteño music is big in both places. There's a lot of crossover.
So it's like this blend of Mexican and American influences all coming together. Now, music is a big part of Tamaulipas' identity, right? We
Yeah.
talked about El Cuerudo Tamaulipeco. But what other musical traditions should we be listening to?
Oh, there's so much to explore. Besides Norteño, there's Huapango, which is popular in the southern regions. It's a really cool genre, all violins and guitars and poetic duels. Very lively, very engaging.
I'll have to add that to my playlist.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about the food.
Mm.
Besides carne a la tampiqueña, what are some must-try dishes in Tamaulipas?
Oh man, if you like seafood, you're in luck. The shaibas rellenas, those stuffed crabs, are amazing. They're a specialty in Tampico. And if you want something a bit more inland, go for the cabrito al pastor, roasted goat seasoned with northern spices.
My taste buds are tingling already.
Ah.
Okay, before we jump to Veracruz, let's do a quick history recap for Tamaulipas.
Sure. Before the Spanish came along, the area was home to various indigenous groups like the Huastec, Janambra, and Paisan peoples. And you can still see their influence in archaeological sites around the state.
Those ancient roots run deep. What happened when the Spanish arrived?
Well, the Spanish brought cattle ranching, agriculture, they established missions, founded towns. Tamaulipas became part of that whole colonial system.
Right, and then the fight for independence.
Exactly. Tamaulipas played a role in the Mexican War of Independence. There were battles, uprisings, political maneuvering. It was a pretty intense time.
It's amazing to see how all those historical threads have woven together to create the Tamaulipas of today. So what about the people themselves? What defines a Tamaulipeco?
They're hardworking, proud, and they love to celebrate. They've got that Curudo spirit, you know. Tough, resilient, independent, and they're really warm and hospitable people.
Sounds like a wonderful place to visit. But for now, let's set sail for Veracruz. You've described it as a cultural explosion. I'm ready to be blown away.
Veracruz is all about energy, passion, and a vibrant mix of cultures. Get ready for a sensory overload.
Sounds like my kind of place. So let's start with Yorocho culture, which seems to be the heart and soul of Veracruz. Can you break it down for us?
It's the essence of Veracruz, especially down in the port city. It's this incredible blend of Afro-Caribbean, indigenous, and Spanish influences. You hear it in the music, see it in the dances, feel it in that whole festive vibe.
It's like a cultural symphony
Yeah.
with all these different influences coming together.
Yeah.
What are some of the key elements we should be listening, watching, and feeling for?
Well, Sun Jarocho music is a big one. We've talked about it a bit, but it's really central to their identity. Those instruments, those rhythms, they tell a story. And then there are the dances, like the fandango, which are just bursting with energy and passion.
And speaking of energy, we can't forget about the Danza de los Voladores. That sounds like something else. What's the story there?
It's not just a dance. It's a sacred ritual with deep roots. It goes back centuries to the Totonac people. It's about connecting to the spiritual world, honoring nature, ensuring fertility and abundance.
It's amazing how they can express such profound ideas through movement and symbolism. Now, let's shift gears and talk about Veracruz's history. It seems like it's been at the center of a lot of major events.
Oh yeah, for sure. Veracruz was a key point of contact between the Old World and the New World. It's been shaped by conquest, colonization, revolution, you name it. It's got a really complex, layered history.
Let's rewind all the way back. What was Veracruz like before the Spanish showed up?
Veracruz was home to some of the most advanced civilizations in ancient Mexico. Like the Olmecs, considered the mother culture of Mesoamerica. They thrived there and left behind some incredible sites like La Venta.
Wow, so there's a lot of history there that predates the arrival of the Spanish. What happened when they did arrive?
Well, Hernan Cortez landed in Veracruz in 1519, and that really changed everything. He established the first Spanish settlement in Mexico right there, and Veracruz became this crucial port for the Spanish Empire.
Right. It was their gateway to Mexico.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it also became a major hub for the transatlantic slave trade. So there's a lot of darkness mixed in with that history.
It's a reminder that history is never simple. It's full of triumphs and tragedies. And then, of course, there's the fight for independence. How did Veracruz play into that?
Veracruz was a hotbed of revolutionary activity. There were battles, uprisings, all sorts of political intrigue. The San Juan de Ulua fortress, which you can still visit today, was actually the last Spanish stronghold in Mexico.
So much history packed into that one spot. And we can't forget about those U.S. invasions in the 19th and 20th centuries. How did those events impact Veracruz?
Those were definitely dark times. Those invasions left scars that are still there today. It's a reminder of the complex and sometimes strained relationship between Mexico and the United States.
It's a lot to process for sure. But let's shift gears and talk about the people of Veracruz. What are they like?
Veracruzanos are known for their warmth, their hospitality, their zest for life. They're friendly, outgoing, they love to have a good time, they really know how to celebrate.
They sound like my kind of people. And speaking of celebrating, you can't forget about the food. What are some of the must-try dishes in Veracruz?
Oh, the food is amazing. We've talked about huachinango a la veracruzana, but you also have to try arroz a la tumbada, which is like a seafood paella. It's incredible. And for breakfast, don't miss out on the picadas. They're these thick corn tortillas topped with salsa, cheese, onions. Simple but delicious.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Now, before we wrap up our Veracruz adventure, are there any key figures we should know about? People who have really shaped the state's identity?
Veracruz has a rich artistic heritage. Agustin Lara, known as El Flaco de Oro, was one of Mexico's most beloved composers. He was born in Veracruz, and his music really captures the soul of the state.
Oh, I love his music. It's so romantic and soulful. What were some of his most famous songs?
Granada and Veracruz are classics. And then there's Toña La Negra, another musical legend. She was known for her powerful voice and her Afro-Mexican boleros. She was a real trailblazer.
So much talent has come from Veracruz. It's incredible. What about historical figures? Anyone who played a key role in shaping the state?
Well, we can't forget about Yanga, also known as Gaspar Yanga. He was an escaped African slave who actually led a rebellion against the Spanish and founded the first free African town in the Americas, right there in Veracruz.
It's an incredible story. It's a reminder that history is full of these unsung heroes. Now, are there any places in Veracruz that we absolutely shouldn't miss? Places that really capture the essence of the state?
There are so many amazing places to see. Veracruz City is a must, of course. You've got the iconic San Juan de Ulua fortress, the lively Zocalo, the legendary Café de la Parroquia. It's a city that's bursting with history and culture.
I've heard so much about the Café de la Parroquia. What about other destinations?
Well, if you're into archaeology, El Tajín is a must-see. It's a Totonac site with the incredible Pyramid of the Niches. And Papantla, the home of the Danza de los Voladores, is also worth a visit. It's a town that's steeped in tradition, and it's also famous for its vanilla.
Vanilla in Papantla. Tell me more.
Yeah, the vanilla orchid is actually native to that region, and they have a long history of cultivating it. You can visit vanilla plantations there and see the whole process, from the plant to the finished product.
That sounds amazing. I'm adding Papantla to my list. Any other hidden gems in Veracruz we should know about?
If you're looking for a bit of colonial charm, Tlacotalpan is a must. It's a beautifully preserved town with colorful houses, cobblestone streets, a really relaxed atmosphere. And for nature lovers, the Los Tuxtlas Biosphere Reserve is incredible. It's a biodiversity hotspot with rainforests, volcanoes, amazing wildlife.
So many incredible places to explore. Veracruz really does have it all. Any fun facts about Veracruz before we wrap up?
Well, did you know that Veracruz is also home to Pico de Orizaba, the highest mountain in Mexico? It's a pretty impressive sight.
I had no idea. It seems like Veracruz is full of surprises. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today exploring Coahuila, Tamaulipas, and Veracruz. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. 3 states, 3 unique personalities. It just goes to show how diverse and fascinating Mexico really is.
It's been an amazing deep dive. So many incredible stories, so much to discover. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to learn more, maybe even plan a trip to experience these states for myself.
Yeah, me too. And we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. So to our listeners out there, keep digging, keep learning, and keep that sense of adventure alive.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe we'll cross paths in Coahuila, Tamaulipas, or Veracruz one day. Until then, adios and happy travels.
Wow, what a journey. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of these 3 incredible states.
I know, right? It's amazing how much diversity is packed into just this one little corner of Mexico.
It really makes you want to pack your bags and go exploring, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And, what we've talked about today is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to discover.
That's the beauty of travel, right? You can always dig deeper, always find something new.
Exactly. And even if you can't hop on a plane right now, you can still keep exploring, read books, watch documentaries, listen to music.
Right. There are so many ways to experience a place, even from afar. And that's what we're all about here, right? Inspiring people to learn, to explore, to expand their horizons. Absolutely. Whether it's a physical journey or a journey of the mind, it's all about opening ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives.
And sometimes those new perspectives can be found right in our own backyards. I was thinking about what you said earlier about the resilience of the human spirit. It's such a powerful theme that runs through all three of these states.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, think about Coahuila. Millions of years ago, it was this lush, tropical world, home to dinosaurs. Today, it's a desert. But life has persisted, adapted, found a way to thrive.
It's a reminder that change is inevitable, but life always finds a way. And that resilience isn't just about the natural world, it's about the people too.
Absolutely. The indigenous groups in Coahuila, they've faced so many challenges over the centuries, but they've held on to their traditions, their connection to the land. That's resilience.
And in Tamaulipas, it's that blending of cultures, that ability to adapt and create something new while still honoring the past.
Right. Living on the border, navigating those different influences, it takes a certain kind of strength. And then you have Veracruz, with its history of conquest, colonization, revolution.
It's a history that could easily weigh people down, but the people of Veracruz, they have this vibrancy, this love of life that just shines through.
It's inspiring, isn't it? They've taken their history, their struggles, and turned them into something beautiful.
It makes you realize that resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving, about finding joy even in the face of adversity.
Exactly. It's about finding the strength to keep going, to keep creating, to keep celebrating life.
Well said. So to our listener out there who has joined us on this whirlwind tour of Coahuila, Tamaulipas, and Veracruz, what has resonated with you the most?
Are you drawn to the ancient mysteries of the land of dinosaurs? Or maybe it's the vibrant blend of cultures in Tamaulipas that speaks to you.
Or perhaps it's the energy, the passion, the cultural fusion of Veracruz that has captured your imagination.
Whatever it may be, I hope this deep dive has sparked a curiosity, a desire to learn more.
These three states are just a small window into the incredible diversity and richness of Mexico. So much to discover, so much to explore.
And the best part is, the journey doesn't have to end here.
Exactly. There are books to be read, documentaries to be watched, music to be listened to, and of course there's always the option of planning a trip and experiencing these amazing places for yourself.
Nothing beats firsthand experience. So, to our listener, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those adventurous spirits alive.
And until our next deep dive, adios.